How many kids do you have?
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum. I'm Laura McCletty, one of the co-conveners for the forum, along with Jackie Edward Walton, who will lead us in a word of prayer.
Good morning, Father. Thank you so much for your so many blessings. How you just orchestrated this whole world. How you just make all things beautiful. We thank you for who you are in our lives. We ask that today, as we convene this Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum, that you be here and you direct us. All of this we ask in the name of the soon coming King. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. We like to ask all of those that are part of the team in making sure that we are able to facilitate and carry out the wishes of Sarah Stevenson and some other leaders in our community to please stand at this time and share your name.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Winston Robinson.
I'm Jackie Edwards Walton.
Mary Johnson. Natalie McElrath, better known as Richard McElrath's sister.
And I'm Mr. Coffee, Steve Johnson.
Nathan, I know we're doing that because I'm Tyler Robinson's son.
And
Grace Robinson. Oh, Robinson. Oh, yeah, of course. No, my role.
Thank you. We just wanted to share with you all who the responsible people that are here almost every Tuesday morning to make sure that we bring to you information and presenters that will continue to carry out the needs that we have in our community. We are so happy of the fact that we have those individuals that are running for the mayor of our fair city. And what we will do is have them to introduce themselves. Of course, you all know both of them. They've been in the media and around our city for quite a while. We like to welcome everyone here this morning, in addition to our listening audience by way of live stream and Facebook Live. Do we have anyone that's here for the very first time? Mary, take it. Will you introduce yourself and just share your affiliations?
My name is James Higgins. I'm here. I'm the chair of the Libertarian Party of Mecklenburg County, so I'm just here to support Rob.
Thank you for coming. And just once again, we are here every Tuesday morning, almost about 47 Tuesdays out of the year. Please come back, and we meet from 8:30 to 10. For you in particular, for those that have been here coming on a regular basis, you know the drill, but just as a reminder, we have our candidates that will have about 10 to 15 minutes to share information about their platform. And we will also ask that if you have a question, you can raise your hand. We will identify those that are raising their hands first. And for some of you in the front, you may not know, but people in the back also have questions. So don't think that we are overlooking you, and we will get to you if time permits. But we would ask you to ask one question and do it in 30 seconds. And we have a timekeeper, Natalie McElrath, who will raise the sign when your time is up. And we do not debate at all at the Tuesday Forum. We ask you to refrain from debating. So we don't go back and forth. You can call it what you want to call it, but we will not allow that here at the Tuesday morning forum. We will, once we get started, we like to take announcements as well at the end of the forum. So we will give it a little time, and we have some time here in the room, but we also have coffee, and we like to thank Ricky for bringing goodies to us for the last 2 or 3 Tuesdays, and you're welcome to have and protect that. We do have a coffee fund, and we ask you to please, just be respectful. And to our guests who've been here before, we do have people that will come in respectfully and leave respectfully. So without any further ado, we're gonna ask our mayor and our guests and our candidate to introduce yourself and you have 10 to 15 minutes to share with us your platform for running for office.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Come on, we can do this better. Good morning. Good morning. So, I want to say thank you once again for the work that's done in this room every time you meet and making a difference. So, thank you for that. So, let me talk a little bit about what's going on.
I want you to use the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have 5 brothers, so I thought that I could just yell.
Yeah. We have a streaming audience.
This
is for the
And they can't.
There we go. Is that okay?
Yeah.
You good? Okay, thank you. So I'll start again. I'm Lyles, and I serve as mayor of this great city, and I have for a while served the city. Many of you know that I was a staffer a long time, and that staffing role gave me the opportunity to see how things could be done when we have a good city council. So I want to talk about what's going on for me and what's next. You will be honored, or you would honor me to be able to be re-elected this term. There are 3 things that I want to think about doing. One, I wonder how many of you remember when we had our first housing bond. It was $15, I believe, $15 that we said we were going to try to do that effort. The second one we did was $50 million. And then now we're going out at $100 million. All of those were initiatives that I worked on very hard to make it possible for people to have a place to live in our city. And we have much more work to do. So I hope that all of you will understand that I will always have housing for people, especially those now that are unhoused and what's going on with people that are sleeping on the streets. At one time, we were able to do something better about this. And I think that we just lost our way, and we have to find our way to do this again. The second thing that I want to do in my role is to be ready to have new jobs coming in. I think jobs are the way that people have the ability to have homes and families and to do something that's really perfect for our community, because we are fast growing. And in this fast growth that we're having, I hope that we will have opportunities for people to find a way to have jobs and a way to live. And then the final thing that I support greatly is our transportation mobility plan. And people say, why? Why? Charlotte has got a lot of things going on. We have too many people coming in. I've heard every argument for it. But the argument that I make for transportation and for the ability to have a mobility plan is that most of the people that ride public transit are people that are that look like me. And they have no cars. Now, most of you guys probably drove over here with in a car. But a car costs a lot more money than a bus system or a rail system. And I know that we've got to do something about getting people to work. And that means that we need to engage in a rail system or a bus system so that they can have a way to do all of those other things. A home for their kids. A place that they can actually say, I have a job and I'm working there because I get to work on time instead of being left behind. These are the things, these small things that we can do to make it possible for our city to grow and to welcome new people coming in so that they can give us the ability to continue to grow in a good way. So those are the 3 initiatives that I have. Let me say it again. We ought to always think about housing, especially now, the unhoused. We need to think about jobs for people that don't have them now. How do we make it possible for them to have? And then the ability to move around the city so that if you're going to work, you have a way to get there. So I hope that you'll understand this initiative that I have and believe in, and I greatly appreciate the time that I get to speak. Natalie, that's it. Thank you.
How's everyone doing? Thank you for being here. Good to hear, good to hear. That was surprisingly peppy for a Tuesday morning, little rain. So I want to say this place holds a little special place in my heart. It's my second time running. When I ran last time, my first event, I just registered to run, 2 weeks ago. I get the invite, I show up. I think I'm just going to be like shaking hands and no, you go sit up there and you're going to be debating there by loud. All right, throw me in the fire right away. But it was a very interesting, informative experience. Very loud, as you were kind to me, and I've said this so many times, I appreciate that. And I remember she asked me, why are you doing this? What are you hoping to get out of it? And I said, I want to learn something. So then right at the end of the campaign, we were at the Telemundo debate, and she said, what did you learn? And I said, what I've learned is that most of the people running for office aren't as different as we're presented to be. Everyone wants the same things. And we forget that. We want good jobs, we want stability, we want safety. We don't want to have to worry about existential threats. We want to be able to deal with our lives and have these other things that shouldn't be on our plate pushed aside. And I think that I present a plan, which I will acknowledge in some ways may seem radically different to what we're normal. I'm a libertarian candidate. Libertarian, for those of you who don't know, operates in a very simple philosophy. Don't hurt people, don't take their stuff. Equal rights for everyone. But when you start to apply that, there are certainly complexities. What is the role of the government when you're taking from someone and giving to another? The government's always choosing winners and losers. And I think where our city has room for improvement comes down to decisions that have been made in a central planning capacity from city council that have had far-reaching negative consequences that they can't acknowledge because of the two-party system. So you can't say I did something wrong and I have to get better because the other side might win. And so my platform, if you check out my website, prospercharlotte.com, the very first thing is voting reform. I would love to see Charlotte be a pilot for a preference voting program, even at some city council or similar type races. And all that means is that instead of voting for one candidate or the other, you either choose the people you like and not the ones you don't, or you rank people. It's nonpartisan. So you're choosing ideas, not parties. And it really gives a chance to get some innovation out there. The second thing that I want to talk about is public safety. Obviously, it is on everyone's mind. Terry Donovan had showed up. Maybe he should have held another press conference or something. I don't know. And I do say that a little bit mocking. The sensationalism is not helping us. Again, believe it or not, I want to commend by Lyles. After the Irina stabbing, I thought your statement about mental health was appropriate. We do have a mental health situation. We have a serious homelessness situation. There are a lot of people who have become homeless through no fault of their own. But the fact is, when you get depressed and you self-medicate, people get addicted to drugs and are mired in depression in a horrible situation, and it's really difficult to get out, and that does drive crime. So it has to be a two-fold approach. We have to address the underlying causes of homelessness and crime, which are poverty, job insecurity, depression, and substance abuse. And we also have to have a more robust public safety response from our police. In particular, we have in Charlotte unrolled in the last couple of years a community policing program that has had some very positive results. We're in the top 3% of crime for major cities in the US, which is not a great stat, but we have seen significant declines year over year. I would like to unroll a full community policing program. Put police in a place, pay them well to take care of that place, not to make arrests, not to meet statistics, but to keep people safe, to enforce laws that matter. I would not like to see us spend $1 million on an MRAP machine, this is 2 years ago, that is a military machine that can breach buildings in the event of a bomb threat. That seems like a waste of money to me. Housing. We need more affordable housing. It's a joke in newspapers, everyone knows that it is getting really expensive to live in Charlotte. How do you solve that? You build. We gotta build. We gotta pull back the city council's centralized control and just creating this hurdle to getting houses built, because more supply, when demand is there, lowers prices. This is very simple, basic economics. In terms of transportation, I'm very much against the transportation tax. You will read that it's a 1% increase. That is people that didn't pass math in elementary school. It's It's a 14% increase. It's a 1 point increase, and that is a big difference. Estimates are cost on average $240 a person. I'm not rich, but I'm lucky. My wife and I both have jobs. $240 a year is not going to kill us. But on top of a hyperinflationary environment that our federal government has given us, prices are shooting up. On top of other tax increases that we've seen in the last couple of years to do things like fund billionaires, tennis courts, and stadiums. And on top of the rising cost of fuel and the lengthening transportation, that's really going to hurt people who can't afford it. And then we're going to have more people out on the streets, and you're just less generational wealth and less of the history of Charlotte being able to build from that foundation. Again, I really appreciate y'all being here and listening. This is awesome. I'd like to just say, and like, you watch the news and everyone hates each other and everyone knows how to solve everything all of a sudden, but this is where it matters. This is the people getting involved and really dealing with issues, government for the people, by the people, having an opportunity to make a difference. So thank you.
Our first question comes from Ken Combs.
Seems only yesterday that my friend and your homeboy, Mayor Lyles Ron Gibson, brought you by our home on Holly Street to introduce you to me and Hazel. Only yesterday. We've had nonpartisan elections, Rob, and that didn't really work out. Those who don't know the history are destined to repeat it. It's a waste of money, you say, until you have a bomb in the building, and that's pretty likely now. So my question to you is, considering so much of what you've said in support of or in endorsing some of the things that Mayor Lyles has done, why are you wasting our time getting in this race?
So I appreciate the question. First, I would argue that any time a person is getting involved in politics is never a waste of time. I would encourage more people to get involved, run for office. It's not that hard to do. As far as the bomb threat and the MRAP, first of all, we actually already had one in the city. We're just never going to agree on the likelihood of that happening. You're more likely to die from a coconut falling on your head than from a bomb falling on you. I'm not going to spend $1 million on a coconut insurance policy. So it does seem superfluous to me. I was highlighting this as an example. I also want to be clear. While Mayor Lyles and I will disagree on policy, I'm not calling her out specifically. This is a city council thing. This is a broader involvement thing. There's a police component, and I'm making the case that I'm a different voice, that I will bring a truly new perspective that can shake things up a little bit. As far as nonpartisan voting goes, so how best to hold an election is a philosophical question that will probably last as long as this country. And there's certainly been problems with pure nonpartisan elections in the past, but the difference would be the preference voting. So you could still run as a Democrat. We would not say that on there, but the Democrats could stand outside and hand their little card out. The difference is other Democrats could run, and it forces candidates to stick with their ideas all the way to the end of the election.
Okay. Mike.
Okay, both of you, and every time I come, I hear a couple of things repeated over and over again. Affordable housing being one, homeless being the other. I'm one to believe that there are a lot of people out there who are homeless by choice. My question is for those who are homeless because they cannot help it. Have you all ever considered developing some of these vacant buildings or anything and a system in which you can get the homeless people back and forth into those buildings so they will not be on the street?
Thank you for that question. It is one of those that follows us every day on how do we best address this. And there's lots of different ways that people see having humane treatment for people and how they're going to work. So, but let me explain, and part of this is what we're doing in terms of what we're trying to accomplish, making our city feel safer and be safer. And part of this is about how do we address homelessness. We're very fortunate to have a county commission that works with us. You know, there's ways to structure government. And generally what the city does is infrastructure. And what the county does is to help people and to make sure that people are secure and safe. So this time I want to say I'm really glad that we have young man who's leading the effort for how do we address homelessness out of Mecklenburg County and out of our city. I don't know how to say Renard. I think that's how to call him, but I'm sure he has some kind of PhD and a bunch of other things on how he's working on it. We have been having a meeting almost monthly, weekly often, to talk about how do we address that. And he is now working on an initiative to determine, we have to get people off of the street. I mean, because people always think that people on the street are doing harm. Actually, most of the time, those people on the streets are being harmed. And so we need to figure this out. And if you notice a little bit more around what we're doing on Robert Bearden Park, we now have walking police patrols there. We have now invested in go-karts. I don't think that's the right word for it, but that's what I was for go-karts. But we are going to have that kind of initiative. But I hope that we will be able in the next several weeks, maybe a month, to say to Dr. Renard, say, thank you, what do we do and how do we do it? And I think that those buildings are really important to consider because that takes people in a safe place. Thank you for the question.
So as soon as I saw homelessness this afternoon, tomorrow I got peace in the Middle East on my agenda, so just all the intractable problems real fast. It's a difficult question. If we could solve homelessness, and it has been a long-standing issue in the US, then we probably would have solved it. I think that if you want to solve a problem, you have to address the root causes. I mean, we treat symptoms, and we spend more money treating symptoms, and this is a problem everywhere in the country, and probably the world, but I'm more interested in the country, the state, and very much Charlotte. Poverty is a cycle, and there's a whole bunch of factors that come into it. It can create mental health issues where they didn't exist, depression, anxiety that becomes crippling, you can't move forward, it lowers your performance, you lose jobs. Substance abuse is prevalent amongst the homeless, but I don't think it's the whole, like they're a bunch of drug addicts, it's people who are self-medicating because they're stuck in this cycle of a mental health collapse and then external circumstances that are just making it that much worse. One of the best ways to start to address homelessness is to make the city prosper. You provide jobs that people can get that can pay a decent wage and then have a house that they can afford to live in. You create the pride of being able to take care of yourself, the returns on work, prosperity, you're starting to produce things, and that's how we move up. And that's when we talk about, and I don't need to get too like existential or silly, but the American dream is the idea that you can move up, and the generation that you bring after you can move up another step. And that opportunity is just not there. I do think that lowering some of these taxes, not going through with some of these, like the transportation tax, that I think is really going to hurt us economically. And I think unleashing development, and not from a bunch of out-of-state developers who are working deals with city council, but letting people buy property and turn it into what's best for them. And once you have housing, then people have a place to live. You start to create jobs, other jobs come, and the whole system, it becomes a virtuous cycle instead of a vicious cycle.
Okay, we'd like to ask you to stay seated when you give your answers because of the cameras that we have here. So now next question is from online, and Mary's going to read the question that we have from someone online.
Okay, we have an online question. Given the uncertainty of the federal government, it is essential to continue to fund affordable housing with resources we control. Furthermore, the proposed transit system expansion will put more pressure on communities where affordable housing is vanishing. What is your specific commitment to maintain and increase the $100 million housing trust fund, and would you support a budget without it?
Yes, that's for both of us. Yes, I think it's for both of us. So I'll start off. The very first thing that I'm sorry. Okay, so the very first thing I said is that ever since I've been in the mayor's office, we've always had affordable housing bonds passed. And that's because you guys believe in it and you believe that the work we're doing is the right thing. And so I will continue to support, continued support provide initiatives that help people live in housing, that help us have the people that we're having off the streets. Right now, Roof Above, which is where most people that are in help and have needs in that area of homelessness, they go there, but we need 300 more beds for that. We are a growing city, and it has a lot of growth that really means that we have to take care of those folks that are in our city so that they can make it safe for all of us to be in our city that way. So when you say, what would I do? Yes, I'm going to always support housing bonds, initiatives for our work until we get it done in a way that we can kind of model take a different model, but I haven't seen one yet. The city council often travels around to check what's going on, what's new, what's possible. But when we look, we've been all over. I mean, we've been to lots of cities and states, and all of this, as you said, it is just something that we've not been able to figure out how to make housing something that's easy and simple because of the way that we're structured as a city. So, was there another part of the question besides the housing portion? Because I will support housing initiatives all the time. Okay.
So here's something to think about. All housing is affordable housing to someone. We're not really talking about affordable housing. We're talking about multiple tiers of housing costs. And that's a much trickier question unless you're going to introduce rent stabilization, that crushes economies. So I got my start in being active in politics about 5 years ago, working with the Faith, Hope, and Love Church in Gastonia under Pastor Moses Colbert. And he ran a homeless shelter out of his church. And he kept his costs minimal because he provided a hot meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, safe place to sleep with a roof over their heads, and counseling for substance abuse, depression, seeking jobs. In 2021, the police on camera tased a homeless veteran. His service dog got away, she was killed, he attempted to take his own life, it was a whole thing. When Pastor Moses, and this was someone who stayed at Pastor Moses' church, when Pastor Moses spoke out about it, a couple months later, the city raided his church, cited him for 32 fire code violations, and threw all the people out who had been staying there with a roof over their heads, a warm place to sleep, not a bed, but a place to sleep, and hot meals. For the prior 3 years in Gastonia, there had been no deaths on the streets of exposure. In the next 5 months, 17 people died of exposure because the city put them out and said, we're going to take care of you. So I'm very skeptical for that, and many reasons, of the ability of a city government to handle this problem. Affordable housing is always going to be a supply-demand issue. We can't create affordable housing. You can subsidize people's payments, and there's a lot of debate on how well that works. But what we really just need to do is build more houses. Houses will get cheaper. Older houses get cheaper. People buy houses that they can afford. We used to get a starter home, and you move up. You need something real small. Get an apartment. Get a few roommates. These are not intractable problems for us as a people, but I would argue that they are almost impossible to count on the government to solve.
Can I take a moment of privilege? I want to say, when you say the city did that, it wasn't Charlotte.
No, that's it.
I know. I just want to make sure that we're not saying.
In no way implying, yes,
that this
100% yes.
Thank you. I just want to make sure of that.
I should probably leave it on our show.
But I just want to make sure that that's happening and not happening in Charlotte. While we all know that it's going to be coming, we're in fall, it's going to be winter, and there's going to be needs for people in our faith community. It's been the backbone of how we can house people off the streets and have food and someplace warm. So I just want to make sure you know that most of our faith-based partners make it possible for people to get through the winter. And that's very important for us to continue to do, because we rely on them and they rely on us. Thank you.
Good morning.
My question is youth. And I know that you guys, the city has so many programs, the county. I think I would like to know if there's any way possible that the city, the county, CMS, the faith community, everyone can come together and form a coalition. The after school programs and the programs like McCory Y closes at 2 on Saturday. Are you serious? So when can we come together to make sure that there are recreational, cultural activities for these children and character building and more mental health? It seems like those are the programs that I know, and even with the county, a lot of them did not get funding. I'm not sure, and maybe I should know more about the status of them with the city, but that's something I really feel strongly that we should be investing in.
Thank you for that question. I really, it's always tough when Carlenia says that there needs to be a possibility for everybody to participate. You better be ready at the door because she's going to ask you to participate. So I want to say that you've done great work in our city and you know how much I appreciate you. So let's talk about this. Right now you're sitting in a place where we are having young youth people come and sit here, and this is where they apply for opportunities for jobs. And that's the number one thing. And when you leave, there are going to be young people coming, and they're going to have opportunities to work with our abilities around how do we get you a good paying job? How do you need to go back to school? What is it necessary? So we're committed to this. But I do think that all of the commitment in the world does not satisfy the needs that we have in the city. And I just applaud you for bringing that up. And I have a book that I carry around that says things to do. And now I've got one more. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
So I think it's probably an even more important question than you realize, because it's not just the youth now, it's how are we allowing the future generations to prepare for adulthood and the stewardship of our city, our state, our country as we move forward. I actually think that, I mean, I'm lucky enough, my son's sitting right there. This is I will say, I admit a little sheepishly, but he was excited to meet Mayor Lyles more than he was to hang out with me. But there are programs, if you look, but they're spread out. Transportation is probably more of an issue than simply having the programs and awareness. And I think a libertarian philosophy, you're always going to find me skeptical, very skeptical of any government spending. But if we're going to spend money, if we must spend money, youth after school programs are an excellent rate of return. I think we need to make transportation to get there easier, safer for children who may have to travel on their own, and spread awareness so they know where they are, from character building sports to the arts to music, things that develop brain, teach people to play nice with each other, how to get along, how to disagree civilly, and forge the adults of tomorrow.
I do want to say one more thing, that we are very fortunate. CMS works with us, and when young people are coming out of high school, the city has a program where they are immediately employed if they make that determination. They can go to college, they can do whatever they're doing, what they want to choose, but if they want to choose to have a job immediately so that they have needs that they need to fulfill, the city works with us, and this is the second or third year, I believe, for that program, where people come out and they've learned, or young graduates come out and they learn a career and they have a choice. And so in some ways, it's kind of like what we do to help increase the number of people that we need in our organization, but also it's a way that we can have young people have a place to go immediately after they graduate from high school.
Okay, our next question is from Mary. Our next question is from Mary Johnson. And what we'd like to ask our participants to do is, once you answer your question and give it to the other person, we'll take a question from someone in the audience. So one answer for each one.
Okay, I do have a question, but I'd like to first say that I think it's very important that you have multiple people running for offices, because you don't want one perspective in an office, and whoever wins, they need to hear the perspective of the other candidates, because they represent a constituency of people. They represent people who live in the city. So I think it's important to hear from everyone in the city. So my question is, where are we with hiring and interviewing a police chief, and what is it that we want in this person? Both of you can answer that.
Thanks for the question. Right now, we are in the interview process, so let me just say, I wish, this is how it works. The city manager hires all of the people that work in the city, so he actually is the person that will interview and hire, and then there'll be some kind of announcement. I'm sure he'll do a lot more of that. But I think what we're looking for is something that I believe the survey that he had for the officers, they said they wanted to have someone that was going to be close in, someone that knows our city already. And I think that that's where we are on getting this done. I expect that in the next several weeks, you will see the announcement for a new police chief. I hope that this is somewhat a place that he will or she will come immediately to talk and discuss, because you recommend so many things for us and the ability to say what we need to be doing. And I'm going to say that he or she will need to know what this is first and foremost. So that's it.
Yeah, I don't know where we are. Not involved in the discussions, but I just think that whomever we bring in as police chief should be someone who holds himself accountable to the highest standards, sets a tone from the top, and demands that we keep the city safe while respecting the citizens, building a rapport with the community so that we're all part of it, instead of creating an us versus them mentality that I think ultimately leads to more crime.
Okay, Aya.
Hi, good morning. Aya Johnson, Executive Director, Mental Health America. Rob, you brought mental health into the conversation when you were talking about housing, and there is a direct correlation. I'd like some clarity on which one you think comes first, the chicken or the egg, mental health challenges or housing instability, and then where are both of your positions on how the city can improve the mental well-being of all of our community?
So thank you. This is, I know we always say great question, important question. This is one of the most important topics we're facing right now. And actually, it's not just, I got lots of tattoos, and many of them stem from, actually 10 years ago next month, I lost my best friend of decades to suicide. My background is in psychology, and I have put a lot of research into mental health study, a lot of time. I don't think there's a chicken or an egg. I think it's a vicious cycle, and it just takes one thing to set it off. I think someone who is not straight over to the side of depression or severe anxiety, something like that, loses his or her job, can't pay bills, is facing an eviction, all of a sudden you have a mental health crisis. On the flip side, I think someone who, turns 40 maybe even and just has a midlife crisis, and I don't mean to be glib, but like it can be the smallest thing, and all of a sudden they're in the throes of depression, which is, this isn't just sad, this is you can't physically get out of bed, you can't complete a task, and then you lose your job, and now you can't pay your bills, and now you're homeless. So what is the triggering event is a job for a qualified professional to work out with an individual, because that's how you get back. On a larger scale, to address it, I think really making sure we have resources available for people. And we're making sure to get through to those people. You can have 1,000 of the best therapists on planet Earth, and if someone is stuck in bed with depression or on the street corner using heroin as a self-medication, they're not going to get to that therapist. And so figuring out the way to make the connection, and this requires innovation. There is not a one-size-fits-all. Everybody's different. Every solution requires a different approach. But it's a willingness to do the work, to really roll up your sleeves and say, we're going to have setbacks, but we keep going, we keep fighting. and you will eventually make progress because most people will come out of it under the right circumstances.
Thank you so much for the question. I'm not qualified to be able to say, accept these things that I feel in my heart, is that I think mental health is really important and treatment is even more importantly done. And we don't have enough facilities for it. We just don't have enough facilities for it. We are working on some of the things that we perhaps do. I just talked about Dr. Renard. I hope you know him well from the county that's doing this work around mental health and what we're trying to do. So I believe we need to have more resources for treatment. And that's a very tough thing to go because to try to reach out. I think right now there's just hospitals and maybe there's Hope Way and a few places, but those places require insurance. They require something that's going to be impossible for the number of people that we're talking about. I think the jail is the biggest mental health hospital that we have. And I think that's unfortunate. But at the same time, I hope that there will be some opportunities between the city and the county working together to determine how we best manage this process. So hopefully, I'm not the person that's around this, but I also know how it is. And knowing that, we owe it to our families, to the people that we love, to do our very best to contain and make sure that it's possible for the next step.
Okay, we just asked for no more of that at this time. So Donnell has the next question. We have quite a few questions. Donnell,
Yes.
your question.
Yes, good morning. I have two here, but I'm going to just ask one, and I didn't know which one I wanted to ask, so I'll just go for it. There is quite a bit of voting apathy, quite a bit of apathy when it comes to individuals and involvement in not the necessarily political issues, but the issues that matter, that affect us all. What is your position on how do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process in our city? How do we make them aware? How do we invite them to the table?
Well, thanks for the question. I want to just say that we try our very best, and sometimes that very best doesn't get us where we want to be. So we are working very hard on defining neighborhoods' boundaries so that when we are talking about something, maybe it's zoning, maybe it's something around building housing in the community, and what we're trying to do is identify and segment those communities, all of our neighborhoods together so that we have the ability to come in and say that we are going to be here on this date. We are working hard on sending out flyers, cardboards, all of this. But I agree with you, when you're at the end of the day and you gotta come home and do dinner and you got the kids and everything, it's not exactly the easiest way to do it. So we also try to maintain the plans that we have on television so that you can see it and have that as well as an example of what we're doing and how we're doing it. But I think that we have to continuously work. Charlotte's growing and it's fast, and sometimes you don't even know your neighbor. You just come in and close the door. But there are communities and neighborhoods in the city that do fabulous work. They have people. So sometimes it just takes that one person that's going to knock on the door and say, we're going to establish a neighborhood program. And I think that there are people that will do that and will make it possible for us to have better communication with our neighborhoods, people that are aware of what's going on. It might not be the best television show on Monday nights, but somebody needs to be watching it, and if it has something to do with neighborhoods, we need to figure out how to make sure that we can provide that information to them, whether it's the staff or the neighborhood association.
You can't make people vote. You can try, but people get engaged in things when it matters to them. People do the things they're incentivized to do. And one of the reasons I am promoting the preference voting idea is that I do think it makes people feel like they have more of a direct voice. One of the interesting things about human behavior is that people will vote in a federal election where realistically your vote 1 out of 150 million, you're not swaying the tide, but at a local level, you can really make a difference, your vote and your voice. And I just think we have to continue. This is another place, I tell you, we're gonna have some stark differences in policy, and there's some places where I'm gonna agree, and I don't think the city's done a bad job at this at all. We just have to continue the awareness. COVID made people reluctant to go out. We're still seeing a comeback from that. I know it's in the rearview mirror, but the aftershocks are impacting us. But I actually just think you will see organic improvement as people care more and more.
Good morning. This is really not my question, but it's my daughter's question. I'm gonna try to get some clarity and understanding of it. She did go to school, I understand what she's trying to say. But her question is, how do we address helping families, that means working class families, that is on the borderline of being homeless? And why do we need to build new buildings or other housing when we have housing that can at least be able to afford the rent? In other words, you're seeing, right, that there are other apartment complexes out here that the rent is so high, instead of keep trying to put more money in building new housing, and which is never cheap anyway. And they're working class, but they're almost out the door because it's struggling trying to afford to pay where they already live.
I expect that you'll have a better answer for this, because I think what's going on here is that people have looked at our city, they've seen opportunities to have, people come into the city new. I mean, we're 157 people every day moving into Charlotte. And so that means if you're waiting for a place to live, someone can come in and say, well, I'll make the down payment right now. And you couldn't do that because you didn't have your paycheck until later. We have to be cognizant of all of these changes that are taking place. And I'm not saying we're doing it well right now, but we are really focusing on how to do it well. We've appointed a number of council members to be on this kind of initiative. For example, we have a housing, faith-based housing initiative. Some of our Caldwell Memorial, several of our communities are faith-based. They're going to have the properties that will be great properties, and they will not require all of this special income for you to get there. But we don't have enough of it. And that's why it's so important to continue to support the initiatives for affordable housing. And this city has always agreed. I think that it's one of our best attributes is that we understand that people need a place to live. And what we have to do is continuously focus on how do we make that possible for everyone. I'm not quite sure what Enlivian is going to be doing, but for example, they're renovating their apartments right now. They're trying to make it, something that everybody would want, and it ought to be. It ought not be that you live in public housing without having the same kind of resources that you would have if you walked into an apartment building. Now, it's always going to be there. We're working on it. I can't tell you it's going to be solved, but I do understand exactly what you meant.
So I think that's actually a good point to mention. It's not all doom and gloom. Like I said, stark policy differences in some areas, but what I was going to say before about the mental health thing is we get mired in this doom and gloom, and Charlotte's not doing as badly as NBC and Fox will tell you. We've seen a lot of positive things, 157 people, that's up from 117 last year. People aren't coming here because they don't like the city. But it does create new issues. And so when you have one thing that people want and 5 people that want it, the price goes up. This is simple supply and demand. And we don't have enough housing. Just saying that there are available places, one, you can't just take people's places that they own and force others to live in it. Then you're instantly communist China. And I live there and I'm telling you, we do not want to be that. We need more housing. We just need more housing. There's a housing crisis almost everywhere in the country except Minneapolis and Austin. And the reason is they never stopped building. They just keep building. And they're very good at doing it in a safe way, an environmentally friendly way. They're always looking for innovative solutions, but they keep building housing. And they have two of the lowest homeless rates and two of the lowest housing costs of any city in the country. We need to build more.
Okay, let me remind Laura and the rest of you in here to silence your phones. My phone just went off. Okay, we have Samir, and then we have Gerald Patton, and then Winston. Those are our next three questions.
Good morning, my name is Samir Hamid. Leadership often means making unpopular decisions. Can you name one current policy that you would support even if it meant losing political support?
The one that I would name, if it means losing political support, would be housing initiatives and how we spend that money and where it goes so that it serves the people that live here the most.
I'm unequivocally, openly, and 100% against this 14% sales tax increase.
14.
1 point.
It comes out to 14%.
Okay.
1 percentage point, 14% increase.
Gerald.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, and thank you both for accepting the call to serve. My question has to do with collaboration. Yesterday, there was a congressional hearing here in Charlotte at the federal courthouse. And what I thought was going to be an opportunity to hear solutions ended up being a forum for political posturing. I wanted to know what would be your philosophy for bringing people together as far as on both sides of the aisle to come together to solve a problem and not use problems as a way to promote your own agendas.
So first of all, kudos to thinking they were actually still going to try and have some sort of positive discourse. I don't know. What I do and say stands to speak for itself. I've certainly voiced disagreements with things our city have done where I disagree, but giving credit where I see it, we focus on the person and not the problem or the policy, and I think that is by design. I think the media gets clicks when they're saying this person's a commie and this person's a fascist. I hate this person, It's useless. It's useless, but it's clickbait. If you ignore that and you focus on the issue and you come together to work to solve problems, then the problems get solved. Then all of a sudden, all that clickbait becomes just background noise because people's lives are better.
I actually say thank you for that question because you're making me think about things in a different way. The way that I've been, really just thinking, how do we do the next steps and how do we make sure that people feel safe? Because we've been working on that so hard, but maybe we've been working on it in a singular kind of way, and maybe we need to invite some more people into the program. One of the things that I love most about my job is when people come into the office and they say, I've got an idea and it can be done and we're going to do it this way, and that is what makes us a special place. And so I now have a second one, besides the youth and this Carlinia. I think you're giving me something to think over because this time will go so fast. It'll be just so fast. We're going to have to make tough decisions really quickly on mobility, on how we're acting in terms of making our trains and buses safe. And I hadn't thought about it in the context of what do we do to bring people together in the room so that maybe we're doing it the right way, but if we're not, how do we give them the opportunity to check out what we are doing and make sure that it's what the community wants? So thank you.
Good morning. Got a question. So as a native of Charlotte from the West Boulevard corridor, now living on the Vegas 4 corridor, often overlooked communities, not to say that this is at the forefront of Charlotte's list of priorities, but I do know it is a looming idea, and I wanted to get your perspective on data centers. I live here.
I don't live in Cornelius, Huntersville. Where are the other ones being?
Well, I mean, just the idea. I know Morris Chapel might have an one is vetting the idea of coming to Morris Chapel. Is it Morris Chapel Road? Right. Yeah. So again, just the idea of data centers coming within the city limits.
So I watched this in the other communities as they've gone through this whole exercise, and it has been very tough because people that have places and spaces, they want to still have places and spaces, and yet we still are all trying to use the internet. And we're all trying to make it possible that people can learn how to use the internet, have the ability to have these jobs and things like that. So it's one of those, like, what's first? You know, you gotta have the centers, because they're the ones that are going to allow for us to grow in terms of what we're doing in terms of, you know, being a really highly responsive tech center. I mean, you know, jobs are everywhere in tech. And so what are we trying to do? I don't have an answer for what it is, but I have watched it and seen where it has been disrupted. But at the same time, people are using it to create opportunities for new jobs in the tech center. Here you go. You know about tech. A little bit. Oh, yeah, right.
So where you live might not be at the forefront of the city's priorities, but it's at the forefront of your priorities. And I think we need a decentralized approach to everything where you are able to take what's at the forefront of your priorities and make it real. And along those lines, as long as we're not giving tax benefits to some massive corporation to encourage them, of course data centers would want to come here. This city's amazing. Why wouldn't they? We have great people, well-educated, smart, hardworking, so much opportunity. If they want to bring all those jobs here, I say welcome.
Jasmine. Good morning. My name is Jasmine. I am a community organizer, activist here in Charlotte. Let's see, how can we? All right. Both of you all have mentioned so much about mental health, and we need to do more for it. I've also heard you all mention something about increasing public safety. I am a huge advocate for alternatives to policing, so I'm curious to know, and thinking about this South Cop City where we're working on, we're already funding things around public safety that I feel we could be reinvesting into. So I'm curious, would you all consider or be willing to implement mental health solutions or alternatives to policing instead of actually supporting and funding the things that we can actually improve on? You're saying we need more mental health support? What does it look like to actually take some of that funding that we're already probably not even, I ain't even gonna go there, what does it look like to support alternatives to policing through mental health solutions?
So we are doing that. We have now funded a psychiatric care person, a doctor, for walking through their uptown and working with people to determine where are they and what do they need. And so if I would say that there are two initiatives that we've started. It's a care team group, as well as working with our police officers to say, this is where we are going to do in terms of psychiatric care and what do we need to do to get people off the streets. So I hope that I will send the document that talks a little bit about this, and I think you'd be really, really proud that we've started it, and we'll see how it goes. But I believe it's the only way. You got to start with the beginning to get to the end. So I'll get you that information, okay?
So thank you for the question. If you're a part of Operation Stop Cop City, I've actually reached out a couple times. I'd love to talk after because I'm on your side on that one. I think we have a mental health issue to address and we have a crime issue to address. And while there is huge overlap in the outcomes from those, they're totally different problems. So crime is actually easy to solve if you don't care about anything else. We could bring in the National Guard and have soldiers on every street. I don't think anyone wants that solution. That creates worse problems. Mental health, on the other hand, mental health challenges is very difficult to solve because you can provide all the resources in the world, but people have to participate. Mental health, the journey to curing a mental health situation is very much self-guided. Even if other people are paving the path, you have to walk down it. So what can we do? I don't know if you heard at the beginning, but I pointed out that Charlotte CMPD has implemented a community policing program, and it's early stages, and it's not all the way, but it's already showing huge results. I think the solution to crime and mental health long-term is a true community policing initiative. If the cop working the street has been there 20 years and Johnny and Billy get in a fight, and the cop takes them to their parents and says, hey, these kids are getting in a fight, instead of taking them to jail and creating a lifetime criminal and ruining this kid, that leads to better outcomes and people that don't have mental health crises. The kid doesn't have a parent or available parents. The cop knows them. Maybe he takes them to one of those after-school programs, basketball game, football, whatever it may be, something at the arts, get them engaged. When cops don't know someone, they can't. It's a tough problem. If someone's being violent, they can't say this person is having a mental health crisis. They see someone being violent and they have a duty to protect. If they know the person and understand the background, they're able to respond or bring in the appropriate people to respond, and they don't have to make split-second life or death decisions based on incomplete information.
Carrie Nelson, my question is about the transportation tax proposal. I think that it's very important that we improve our transportation infrastructure. There are many ways to do that. I think that there's a lot of information on this proposal that needs to be understood. One thing I'm concerned about is displacement that we saw with the Blue Line and expansion. So what, Mayor Lyles, do you propose is the best way to handle that potential displacement?
Fortunately, we were planning on this for a long time. I don't know if many of you know Dr. Harlow managed a program for all of us to begin to think about how we do this and do it well. So we've already got a plan in place for displacement and how do we address that. So it's still in the makings because, of course, we want to know if we're going to win, and I believe we will. But I believe that displacement, it came from the Nest Commission. You can look it up online for the cities, on the city's internet, and it talks about how do we use the Nest report that was done by the citizens of this community to say, what do we do next in terms of displacement? Because we recognize we can learn from what the past was, and we're going to change it for the future.
I have a much more simple solution. I wouldn't do it.
Okay, we have quite a few questions. After Carlenia, we have Doug, and we have Robert, and we have Robin, and then we'll start over with those. There's a couple other people that have questions as well.
Thank you, and you guys make your questions short.
Yes, thank you.
Not me.
Just 1 second.
Not me.
Thank you, Colleen, for saying that, because 30 seconds for the question, please. Natalie, we need your help with this one. And 1 minute for the answer.
Liberty text, Natalie, I've already asked you for liberty. The house, I heard someone say about taking apartments. The Housing Impact Fund, thank you for the funds you give them because they do that. A lot of times you have individuals who don't want to sell their property. So if we would do that, then more people will have better apartments to live in and they renovate them. So thank you to the city. As far as the mayor's youth program, son, you're right. There are a lot of programs, but if you don't know what they are, what they do, and they're not held accountable, then, I think we should have a recognition program, thank you, because we hopefully in the next 2 years will do that. It needs to be big and major. The other is Marcus Jones, who is our city manager. He is the best. Mayor, I hope you continue to support him because he is the best. Now, last, I think we need to agree to disagree, but this week my heart has been hurt because there's so much political posturing. You are dealing with a lot of individuals who, even before things happen, there's an adversarial relationship. And as you saw yesterday, the young man said about the individuals, they came to town for one purpose. They didn't come to town for solutions. They came to town to lambast what is happening in Charlotte. So my thing is, Mayor, what can we do? Because it is very adversarial. I have spent Sunday afternoons talking to candidates. I've given them funds. I've tried to talk to them. What can we as the public do to say we're not going to tolerate that anymore? Not just on their part, but your part, everybody's part. We all have to do that.
This has been a particularly difficult time for what we've been doing, and I thank you for making it possible. One of the first things you ought to do is say to Alma Adams that she is doing a great job. She stood up on the steps and she made her speech, her remarks, and it was kind of just whatever. I think respecting your elected officials is really something that most of us would say, well, why do I have to respect them? They're doing okay. But I do think that we have to think about people and what they have to do to do this job. And I think Alma is a role model for her. So I would say that in all of these situations, there's always going to be grandstanding. And one of the biggest, I tell people this, because I grew up with 5 brothers, I know how to do and keep myself maintained and working on what's important, not just what you think it is.
So I think it starts with you. Turn off the news, get off social media, go for a walk, read a book. I would personally recommend Economics in One Lesson by Hazlitt. It's a great starter. Learn about a different philosophy. And then go find someone who disagrees with you on everything. And instead of giving your opinion, ask for theirs. Just learn about it. You don't have to agree with it, just learn. See the person. We're up here debating issues. But this is not Mayor Lyles to me first. This is Vi Lyles, mother, grandmother. You should read her biography. She's got a pretty amazing story how she came up, and that's cool. That's a person. So now I'm not trying to beat her. I'm trying to convince you my ideas are better without question. And I might be wrong, I might be right, We'll see how it goes. The truth is, in the words of the great Thomas Sowell, there are no solutions, only trade-offs. And that's what we're really talking about, is which trade-offs do you want to make? But we're all looking for the same thing. Most people are not out to get you. See people as people first. And that sort of kindness can be one of the greatest acts of rebellion you have.
Okay. Quickly, we have Doug coming. After Doug is Robert. And then after Robert is Robin. And then Kenny. And then we will go back to Ken and Ale. Okay.
Mr. Yates, Dr. Doug Jones. Okay. Doug Jones. Mr. Yates, earlier when Ms. Ivory asked a question about youth, you mentioned the importance of access to programs, but you also mentioned being against the transit tax. What alternative solution do you have to provide access to youth services?
So you're, I think the area we disagree in your supposition is that the transit tax would actually lead to more and better transit. There's so many holes in the whole plan. One in particular with the red line and the 50% completion. There's no standard on what that means. I don't want to get all the way to transit for this question, but I would want to see CATS fixed. It's a convoluted management structure. It makes anything very difficult to get done. It's a third party that contracts with the union for employees. It's tough to hold people accountable. And to me, the transit tax is throwing bad money at a bad problem. Fix CATS. If you want to make transit better, we need to fix the way CATS is run.
We would only be able to do that with the federal government.
Robert.
I'm not going to listen.
I know.
Good morning, Robert Collins. My question is this. You mentioned there was an increase from 114, I believe, to 157 people moving here per day. There's all this conversation about the living for people, affordable housing, so on and so forth. If that's 1 year, 40 people growth, next year we'll have another 40. Charlotte's not getting smaller, but only getting bigger. Is this just open talk to get people to vote for you, or do you actually think you're going to do something to make a change?
Yes, commitment.
Both of you.
I ask myself that question all the time. I mean, for real, like if you don't come into something like this with just being humbled by the awesomeness of the potential responsibility, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. I can tell you this, I believe in my soul that I am sincere, that I have ideas that I think will make positive changes, and I will work as hard as I can to implement them for the people, and if they're not working, I will change course. I really believe it.
So thank you for that question. Let me say that when we say 150, about 7 people are coming in every day. Now some of that is a little bit like being on the, we want to make sure that people understand that we're growing. And at the same time, when you look at this, not everybody lives in Charlotte. You know, the suburbs around Charlotte are growing fast, very, very fast. And in fact, I was talking to the mayor of one of the towns, and we started talking about maybe we need to have a summit together with each other to talk about how we distribute the opportunities as well as the problems, because there's going to be both. When you look at the number of people, I mean, people drive, this is one of the things about the transit tax. 30% of that tax would be from people that live outside the city limits. That's what the estimate would be for us to do this. And it's because people live in Fort Mill and all of the places in South Carolina. So that's how we address those issues right now on the table. Thank you.
Good morning. Robin Emmons, unaffiliated candidate for Charlotte City Council District 3. We talked a lot about housing and homelessness and jobs. The state's minimum wage has been raised since 2009, still at $7.25. I'm wondering about the city's position on funding small businesses and creating a small business ecosystem so that people have an opportunity to make a living wage and decide what is affordable for them.
So the city has a process that we have already underway. There are some difficulties as we're moving through. How do we address, it has to be small business now. And so we all understand that. And if you understand it has to be small businesses, we have to incorporate all of those new opportunities that are going to be done and with many of the people. So we have really continued to have that same discussion. I would suggest that, you know, we can talk about it a lot more, but I know that what we understand is that small businesses are the background of this country. My brothers have a small business, a couple of them, they work every day, and it made it possible for me not to be able to have to work with them, which would have been a real result. I'm not very good at trucks and things like that. But I would say to you that what we have to do is continue to address where small businesses will have the opportunity to come in. We're looking at some foundations that might be able to help us in a way to do that and to give us some more information about what we can do and be successful at it.
So I said earlier, I have some ideas that might seem radical compared to the status quo, at least. I think this is an area where you can get into one of them. I'm much more of an ask forgiveness than provision person. We are handcuffed by the state with occupational licensing restrictions, and then the zoning restrictions we have in the city make it even worse. So why can't people start a small business? The one that blows my mind the most is haircut or a barber shop. It takes a year and costs $14,000 just to go into business. And then further, you can't have one in the neighborhood you live. You have to go to somewhere where it's owned properly. So the first thing I would do is push every boundary I can to remove as many of these ridiculous occupational licensing restrictions that are hampering people from starting small businesses. And then look to remove zoning restrictions so you don't have to deal with transportation to get 12 miles to somewhere where you're allowed to work. You can open a barber shop in your home if that's what works for you, or at the corner and walk to work.
How y'all doing? My name is Travis. I'm All Season Stone. I'm one of the people who are very, let's go to the root of the problem. So segregation was literally about 62 years ago. The final removal of the black community within Brooklyn Village was roughly like 46 years ago. Redlining ended in 1963, around that time. So my question is, one more thing, the current property value of Brooklyn Village is about $300,000 to upwards of $4 million. So, okay, so clearly this was a concerted effort to throw a generational wealth. Would y'all be willing to actually revisit some of the people who actually lost disability and remedy what Charlotte did?
Well, I would have to figure out a little bit more. Can we talk about that? Because I'm not so sure what the rules are. I do understand everything that you said about, redlining and Brooklyn Village and all of that. When you look at some of this, that's also created some opportunities for wealth, like look at the Pearl. Right now, we're gonna have one of the best hospital systems in the country, I believe, because they built on that property appropriately and understanding. If I can recall, they had all of the folks that were in the programs, and they're looking for more, and they're looking at how can they be accountable. So for example, they have a program to have doctors, African American children, or people that want to become doctors, they want them to come into the space. So it's very critical how it all adjusts and everything, but you're right. Redlining, segregation, when I went to school, it was just terrible. And so all of that is true and it's our history. So how do we change it? We're gonna probably have to take some small steps, but we have to take steps.
Something I think about a lot. Before we were forced to end the school busing program in Charlotte, we had one of the better education systems in the country, and it has gone downhill dramatically since then in pockets. Some of these problems have solutions. It's just, what can we do to make them occur? So, I actually agree with Lyles completely. These problems could be nuanced, the solutions could be nuanced. 63 in some ways is not that long ago, in other ways it's lifetimes ago, and so other things have compounded. So I would absolutely be willing to look into it. I just wouldn't want to overcommit and say this is something we can immediately and definitely solve. But yeah, we should be righting wrongs where the government took things from people.
Kenny.
My name is Kenny Robinson. I'm the founder of Freedom Fighting Missionaries, where I just left a parking lot, a Walmart parking lot, where a mother of 6 and her children live in her car, and the CMS school bus came there to pick up the children to take them to school, and we'll bring them back to the parking lot when school is over. So my question is, what are the plans for the 5,680 homeless CMS students who are currently homeless in Charlotte, North Carolina, with 4,200 of them being black and 215 of them being white? What are the plans to address the Charlotte homeless issue?
This is clearly a topic that's on everyone's mind, and in particular with children. I mean, nothing more heartbreaking. Seeing a kid on the streets, food insecurity, hungry. I think it is a multifaceted problem, and I think we need multifaceted solutions. And I think it does start with building more housing so that housing prices are depressed and people that aren't dealing with other problems except being able to afford a house can now afford a house. I think that when you remove occupational licensing, zoning restrictions, do other things to encourage business to come in, create jobs, then people can work. We do, and it's easy to talk about the substance abuse and mental health stuff. That mom doesn't want to be living in the Walmart parking lot. She wants to put her kids in a place with a roof and a hot meal. These aren't huge things. This is the most simple, basic stuff that she wants to provide. I think you have to create an environment so that not just that mom, but every mom that's on the street, and would you say 4,200 black and 250 white, all of them have a place to live.
You said that very well. I mean, everyone that's a mom wants to be able to have their kids be what they want to be and to have that. Unfortunately, we don't have an organization or I think a plan to address all of this. All of this, you know, like it's like, well, those are kids that are riding the federal bus or whatever. There are all of these things that people talk about, but at some point you just have to get down to say, this is going to be something that we're going to provide. The school lunch program, snack is being, I mean, these are things that are on the precipice of what we're going to have to do in the city to even address some of these small issues like that. I'm not really sure how we're going to get food, but I know that the city council, as well as the county commission, we understand this is about people, and we're going to have to figure out how to make sure that those folks have the opportunity to be safe as well as fed, and their kids deserve more.
Okay, now we have Blanche. After Blanche, we will have Ken, Ayo, and April, and that's going to end our questions.
Good morning, Dr. Blanche Penn here. Kenny said it so well, but I also want to add some flavor to it. It's about our seniors. And we're out here on the streets, hitting these streets and doing what we do with our organizations and stuff, but our seniors are still suffering when I see them on the street. And I didn't realize until a lady came up to me and I realized that she was homeless and she was a senior. And we're having problems with housing. We're having problems with a whole lot of things because they give us nothing. So how do y'all see yourself as trying to help seniors more? Where, don't tell me you're doing it because you might be doing some of it, but you're not doing it. There's too many of us out here still suffering. Seniors.
Thank you, Dr. Penn. I would say that we're all aware of what you're talking about, and it's going to take a lot of work. You've seen us talk about problems that have gone on forever. You've seen problems that you've identified more and more about what we can do. Now, I think both of us would be actually really conscious about these things, but that doesn't mean we can start something. And I'm not going to say we're going to do something that we can't. It's really one of the worst things that you can do is to tell someone, oh yeah, I'm going to feed you, and then there's no food. So we're not going to go in that route in the city. And we have to go and work with the county commission as well. It's the old way of how they organize local government in our city. Now, if we want to go about and have a new way of doing that, that takes you. If you want to say something that the city is not doing or that should be done by the county, let's just go ahead and say, okay, you have to put that in front of the people. You're going to have to work us out of these places. But I'm not going to say we understand very much seniors, children, all of these things are very much on our radar.
So I think that beyond the proposed solutions to the general housing issues that we've discussed, there are a couple other things that come into play. If seniors, in particular, retirement accounts they're worth half what they were in 5 years because of crazy inflation, and that is a huge impact. Then something we've discussed a little bit is generational wealth, which is one of the beautiful opportunities of this country if everyone can have that opportunity. I think when in the last few years we've seen the city council give a couple $100 million to billionaires for tennis courts and stadium refurbishing, and we've also seen property revaluations and property tax go up, that makes it very difficult to build generational wealth, especially if you're on a fixed income. And that's a big reason I'm against the sales tax, is the people that it's going to hurt are the people that can't afford it the most.
To Rob first, I'd like to apologize for my inappropriate characterization of wasting our time. That was, I intended to suggest that the priority effort would seem to be working with the Lyles administration over the years that you were there. My question is, the 70s began intentional strategic efforts to address rising homelessness, and the more successful impact dealing with it, the greater that population grew, with others needing these services setting up here. So my question is, we have a reputation that seems to attract that population. Should we start identifying recipients by their homes or their origins versus those who are here and have established relationship here?
First of all, you have nothing to apologize for. They're gonna make fun of me for that afterwards. It's gonna be great. And you were here last time. I've seen you before. You're engaged. Apologize for what? Get involved. Push. We should be pushed. I appreciate that immensely. If I can't handle that question, I shouldn't be running. I have never thought about what you asked, and that is a very interesting idea because there's a lot of potential data and analysis to come out of it. What is it that's attracting, and how can we better position ourselves to either discourage people that are coming for the wrong reasons, or set the circumstances, I suppose, in a way that those people can assimilate better and become productive and not end up on the streets. So I will think about that very much. It's a very interesting idea.
My question is for Rob. Your response to Jasmine's question earlier about redirecting funds from policing to mental health initiatives was that community policing is the way to solve crime and mental health. Okay, I would say disagree with you, but I would like to give you an opportunity to explain why you think community policing is the solution for our mental health challenges in this community.
Sure, so I'm glad you're giving me an opportunity to clarify. I do not mean to imply that community policing will solve the mental health issue. I think that it is the most effective but gentle response that will solve the crime issue over time, that will also position law enforcement to address mental health crises over actual crimes being committed and bring in the appropriate people to deal with the mental health side. Does that make more sense? We're not asking cops to be mental health professionals, but we are putting them in a place to know who they're dealing with so that they can bring in mental health professionals.
Okay, April. Final question.
This question. Hold on. Okay. This question came in from our live stream. What do you say to your critics? Okay, to your critics about our different communities. What will you be doing first after you get reelected or elected, especially in the Black community where there is a lot of homelessness and need jobs?
So I'm not big enough to have critics yet. I'm working on it. So I've actually thought about this one a lot. If I had the honor of being elected mayor of Charlotte, the first thing I would do is ask Mayor Lyles if I could just shadow her. There's a lot to learn. I mean, without question. I'm coming in humble. There's no illusion about that. I study, I research, I look at other cities, I listen to people. But on-the-job experience is very valuable. And then I would go out, I'd talk to the people. What are the problems you're having? I'm not gonna sit here and tell you how I'm gonna solve them first. Tell me the problems, let me write them down, let me see what we can do. And then you bring in a good team and you foster an environment for open discussion, quality debate. You make sure all communities are represented and you make your decisions and see what happens. You set some goals, if you don't meet those goals, you change course.
So thank you. I'd be glad to shadow you anytime. So I'm glad to do that. I wish more of you said, I want to come to City Hall and see and do and be a part of it. It would be phenomenal for us to have that kind of relationships with our neighborhoods, with the people that are really out there doing a lot of this hard work. And so I want to say thank you for the opportunity that you've given me today. I've got 2 pages of notes here. Probably we'll get more as we go forward. But what I would say to you is, I think there are a lot of people in this room that are running for office, but there are a lot more people in here that can influence how we do the work that we're doing. And I think that we have to determine a way to engage that effort and that energy and the thoughtfulness that you have. And I don't know that we have a way to figure it out. I think came in one of the very first ones. when we started talking about what are the resources that we have. You are our resource. And I hope that in that resource effort, that if you choose me as your mayor, if I get to come back and say, here's a box that I need help with, that you will join and help me. So I really say thank you. I love this city. I've been at it a long time, but it has been the joy of my life. It has been what has made me possible. So I want to say thank you to all of you for having me today.
And I'd like to say thank you all. Let's give them a round of applause. And I know this is probably your final statements. You want to reiterate it, or you'd like to close out? We'd like to give you a couple of minutes just to close out.
Well, I think I probably closed it out already by saying I hope that each of you understand how important it is for us to do something differently and to include everyone. And I hope that I will be a mayor whose door is always open, but more importantly, willing to show up and do something different. Thank you.
So I'm sure y'all have heard that definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. That's actually not a criticism right now of the city government. That's for all of us. Go out and make the change you want to be yourself. It starts with you. The smallest minority is the individual, and you control your own life, so take control. And then get involved. I confess, I watch every city council meeting. I don't generally go. For a number of reasons, usually because of my kids, but watch every city council meeting, show up at every city council meeting, know who's representing you in your district, know who the commissioners are, ask why they're doing things, become informed. The more informed you are, the better you're able to participate. And it just goes from there. If we have a truly educated and informed citizenry, things will continue to get better.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all again so much. And right now, we'd like to take announcements. So if you have an announcement, just raise your hand and we will bring you the microphone.
Are we ready? Great, thank you. My name is Kathleen Evans, and I have worked for AT&T for 23 years. And I sit on the commission that runs the Volunteer North Carolina program. Thanks to the facilitators of this terrific forum for our city mayor and candidates for accessibility today. My announcement is that AT&T is partnering with the Urban League of Central Carolinas to open a Connected Learning Center. And what that Connected Learning Center is, in essence, is a brand new computer lab. So as our mayor said, it's an opportunity to learn about the internet, computers, email, etc., workforce development. And so that facility, it's cafe style, and that facility officially opens next week at the Urban League headquarters. Thank you.
Okay, I'm just gonna come around. I'll get to you. I'm gonna start over here.
Okay, Jay is next. Go ahead.
I'm just going around. I don't want to be. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, try to 15, 20 seconds. I'm gonna get to everybody.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Alexis. I work for the North Carolina Association of Educators. We are having a big summit October 11th, which is coming up, to teach parents and community members how to organize to defend our public schools. There's going to be food. It will be at Central Piedmont Community College, the Uptown location, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And I have flyers for anyone that's interested.
Now I'm going to start over here and work my way back.
Right here. Good morning. My new book is out, Behind the Four Walls, but then it's my new book. I'm gonna tell you about it in a bit. But I have some trips that I do for next year, 2016. If anybody want to go to Chicago, Pigeon Forge, New York, so I have about 4 trips. So if you want to go, I'll give it to Steve, and I have some flyers to pass out.
How many seniors do you have on that trip?
Honey, the bus will be full and we'll be having fun.
Thank you. Hey everybody, I'm Jay Hill, CEO of the Brain Script Agency, and tomorrow we are having the Power Mixer. The Power Mixer is back. It's an amazing networking event that puts everyone in the room together from the C-suite level to startups to nonprofits here in Charlotte. You can RSVP for free at thepowermixerclt.com. Thank you.
Where's it gonna be?
Oh, thank you. At Tabor's Innovation Center on South Boulevard. Thank you.
You all can send announcements to Steve and he can put it online too.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Oshun Marcella. I am the founder of Oshun Movement, a nonprofit. I'm a preventable disease specialist. I teach people to become natural self-healers with plant medicine. I offer a dinner and discussion series once a month. This title for this month is Beyond Birth Control. We all are beyond birth control. It really talks about the different elements that we're putting into our bodies that slow down our ability to be vital. This is every single month. This month is going to be October 11th from 4 to 6 p.m. It's going to be at 3114 Bank Street at the Council for the Elders.
All right, the announcement was made, I'll just double tap. I'm James E. Ford, Executive Director of the Center for Racial Equity in Education. We're co-sponsoring the event with the North Carolina Association of Educators. October the 11th, State Superintendent Mo Green will be in attendance, and I just want to end by saying that public education is the front line of social change. And the attack and the assault on public education has a lot to do with why we're in the situation that we're in today. I'll let you read between the lines. Some of us don't know how education works or how to get involved, how to get in the fight, but we know now, right, at this point in time, that if we don't save our public schools, if we don't fight for education, this cycle is only going to continue. So for those who want to figure out whatever your role is, parent, teacher, student, involved citizen, please join us on Saturday, October the 11th. So thank you once again.
Hi, I'm Laura Cooper. I'm with the League of Women Voters. I want to say amen. I want to see all of you there October 11th at the summit. This is absolutely crucial. The League is a big supporter of this event. And we also, I shared with some of you the resolves, the North Carolina resolves. We have taken these resolves with more than 1,700 signatures from 61 counties. Republican legislators welcome this information. They are fighting now, some of them, we're in the House, are fighting for higher teacher pay and for more funding for our public schools, but they need to hear from you. And this is a way to do it. We're not done. We're going to keep collecting signatures. We're going to keep going back. There is no state budget. Try to run a school system for 140,000 plus children and not know how much money you have to spend. We need to do something. These are our kids. Please see me if you can help. Sign the petition. Get anyone you know anywhere in North Carolina to sign it, because we are going to fight for our kids. Thank you.
I just wanted to tell you all that Monroe Biomedical Research is conducting a study of a new flu vaccine. I'm participating in this study. Science is under attack, so I think it's really important that we can do whatever we can to benefit more information. So there is monetary compensation. If you would like information, I'm happy to share.
Thank you. If you miss Superintendent Green on the 11th, there's an opportunity to see him on October 20th at Friendship Missionary Baptist Church. If you're interested, please let me know. We're having a partnership summit, Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools. We would love for you to attend. It starts at noon. We will have a meal as well as information on collaboration and partners working with the community. And also, please mark your calendar for December 16th. That is our Tuesday morning forum Christmas party. And with that, what we're going to be doing, it's going to be awesome, dynamic. But what we want you to do is start saving up your pennies now, maybe your nickels and dimes and dollars, because we want to give a contribution to the Tuesday Morning Forum in honor of Sarah Stevenson to help with the coffee, to help with the breakfast. Miss Laura and Miss Mary should not have to be going out dating individuals. We need your support, so please come prepared to bring, yes, Ken, you, to bring your nickels, dimes, and quarters on that day, but you will love it. It's going to be an excellent event.
We only accept cash.
I'm gonna make my way back to Brandon.
Hi everyone, Danielle Thomas, the Park Community Development Corporation. And in partnership with Sean Kennedy and True Homes and LISC, we're going to have an event this Saturday right off of Babies Ford Road to celebrate the groundbreaking of Lucille's Kitchen. And it is going to be a commissary kitchen where local culinary entrepreneurs can come in and we can celebrate them, we can partner with them. So it's going to be really good. Food, dancing, fun, all the things. Councilman Graham will be there. Che will be speaking. We hope Ms. Carolina Ivory will say a few words too. Thank you. Yes, I'm gonna leave some flyers too.
Good morning. Thank you all for allowing me to participate. My name is Deidre Willis. I am a financial advisor. And thank you to Winston, who has nudged me to attend. This is my first time coming. So I thoroughly enjoyed the candidates. I wanted to share that in partnership with Northwestern Region, we are hosting a community conversations event on October 16th. This is simply to close the racial wealth gap. But we're going to do a spin this year on the focus of Black philanthropy. So if you have interest, again, that is Thursday, October 16th at 6 p.m. at the Charlotte Museum of History, and please see me.
This young lady, I just have to throw this in. She's amazing. I met her several years ago, and she talked me into getting, I got a long-term care, and I encourage people to do that, okay? So we're gonna have you come back to talk about that. Okay.
All right, I got one. Again, if you don't know your city, get to learn it. One of the foremost historically significant communities in America, McCrory Heights, located right here in Charlotte, is having its 4th annual homecoming event. That is October 4th at 3:30 p.m. at First Baptist West, 1801 Oakline Avenue. Come join us, learn about the history of some of the people who have made significant contributions to not only our city, but our nation. Again, October 4th, 3:30, First Baptist West, 1801 Oakline Avenue.
Good morning. I wanted to read this. C.W. Williams Community Health Center will honor Carmenia Ivory Candy at its 7th annual, and she's right here in the flesh, annual Women's Health and Doctor Recognition Luncheon, celebrating 45 years of service to the community. This fundraising event will be held on Thursday, October 2nd, which is not too far away, the Revelry North End. So support Carmenia and that recognition. Come out to this celebration of 45 years.
Somebody else up here.
We have Freedom Fighting Missionaries that rebranded our organization to serve more of the housing insecurities. So we have added on to our housing program low-income seniors who are at 20% AMI and below. So that are senior citizens who are on a fixed income that draw about $1,400 a month. We are providing housing navigations services to that population, as well as McKinney-Vento youth who are homelessness. So we have removed the criteria for McKinney-Vento youth. Previously, they had to have a parent or caregiver who had a criminal background. We have removed that criteria and are serving all McKinney-Vento youth, and have added on low-income seniors at 20% AMI and below. So please refer any senior citizens. We have more than enough homeless youth, but please refer any senior citizens who have housing insecurity or may be in dilapidated housing and are at 20% AMI, and we will assist them at Freedom Fighting Missionaries.
So any other announcements or more?
No.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Thank you for joining us for another rendition of Big Time Tuesdays at the Bell by Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Morning Forum. Next week, the discussion will center the transit tax. So bring your questions, do your research, as Fat Joe eloquently said, do your Googles. Do your Googles on the transit bill or bond package. So yeah, hope to see you next week here at the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Morning Forum.